Hello everyone. This video is sort of a reply/personal addition to a series of videos started by Mewtwo1,000,000. Watch his videos first for his explanation of this concept. Basically, in Mortal Kombat X, each character has 3 variations, each with its own handful of unique moves. Though it might sound like Smash 4's custom move system, it's more like Splatoon's kit system. Instead of mixing and matching whatever weapons you want, you have 3 preset combinations built on the same main weapon. So, what if Smash characters had the same thing? Again, watch the original videos first, as I'm only presenting my ideas for Inkling. I will also be going into much more detail than Mewtwo1,000,000's videos, because I'm only dealing with one character, and it's a character whose games I am extremely familiar with. Let's start with the basics. In Smash Ultimate, Inkling is entirely based on Splatoon 1, so with 2 other kits, it only makes sense to represent the 2 other mainline games. However, the greatest benefit to these kits is the variation in playstyle. In Splatoon, the same main weapon can have a burst bomb for offense or a suction bomb for defense, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, along with representing each game, each of Inkling's kits will promote different playstyles. And, if we're being honest, even Inkling's Legacy kit could use an update. Inkling's Legacy kit is the Captain kit, based on the Agent-turned-Captain 3 from Splatoon 1. He uses the Splatter Shot, Splat Roller, Splat Bomb, Ink Brush, Blaster, and Slosher. But wait, doesn't it seem like something's missing? That's right, despite how prevalent the Splat Charger was in Splatoon 1's marketing, it's nowhere to be found on Inkling's current moveset. Granted, a character designed to bait and punish with slippery movement probably doesn't need a forward smash that can cover half the stage, but at the same time, it certainly would make more sense from a representation standpoint, not to mention patching up Inkling's kill power. It's a tough call, but I'd rather the Legacy kit stay mostly the same. Though, that doesn't mean I won't make any changes. Let's start with the one that's most important to me. With the Splat Roller, you now have the initial swing. The fact this isn't already in the game is so confusing to me, especially after Splatoon 2 added the mid-air vertical swing, which we are also adding to this move. Both on the ground and in the air, the initial swing spikes on the head of the roller, setting up for combos or stealing stocks incredibly early. The initial swing will also fling out ink in front of you, which can still cover the ground, but more importantly applies the most ink of any move in any of these kits. And if you still want to roll after that, just hold down the B button after swinging. Oh, also, jumping out a Splat Roller in midair will burn your double jump. Not sure why they thought Inkling ever needed that. With the Splat Bomb, you'll have an arrow to show where your bomb is going, like with PK Thunder or Quick Attack. As much as I would like to be able to aim wherever I want at the same speed, I understand the balancing reason behind it. Same with the fact you can't have more than one bomb out at a time. I mean, it would be pretty annoying if someone could constantly throw live explosives at whichever angle he wanted with no extra charge time and have multiple of them on screen at once. Especially if they easily set up for combos on a character with better kill power. So I'm glad the developers knew when to dial things back a bit. I just think a proper indicator of your throw angle would be a nice quality of life addition. Lastly, I changed the final smash. For better balance and game accuracy, the Killer Whale can only be angled before it starts firing. Having complete freedom of movement while shooting a giant laser across the screen is strong enough. The costumes for this kit include the box art Inklings, the Agent 3 costume, the Captain gear, and the rival Octolings, both regular and elite. That's all for the first kit. Like I said, we'll be keeping the Legacy kit practically the same. Would I like a Charger to fill out Inkling's representation better and give his forward smash an actual niche? Of course. But if we have 2 whole kits to spare, we might as well leave the original kit alone. Inkling's second kit is the Agent kit, so named because Splatoon 2 introduced both Agent 4 and 8. The Agent kit leans towards a trapping playstyle. using weapons that exchange speed for range and offer stage control on a level that the Captain Kit can only dream of. Up Smash is the Range Blaster. No gimmicks here, the range, power, and speed are adjusted proportionally compared to the default blaster just as they are in Splatoon. The best use for the Range Blaster by far would be in juggle scenarios with its extended vertical reach and higher power, but don't expect it to catch anybody jumping in anymore. Forward Smash is the Splat Charger. The uncharged attack is pretty mediocre in both range and power, but can still knock opponents a short distance away. The fully charged attack, on the other hand, can cover the same distance as Min Min's Dragon Laser, and it can be angled up and down while charging. This makes it useful for zoning, but leaves you wide open if you miss. Down Smash is the Sloshing Machine. Instead of a splash of ink, it fires a glob of ink that does great damage and knockback on a normal direct hit. Once the glob hits the ground, it has a small area of effect hitbox that does slight damage and low set knockback. The glob will disappear upon hitting a blast zone, but the damage and knockback are significantly lower after the glob falls below its starting point. This means it can still gimp opponents, but not nearly to the same degree as Villager's Bowling Ball. To compensate for the slower firing speed, this down smash will only fire on one side, but the trade-off is a consistent smash attack with multiple ways to take a stock. Neutral special is the Splat Dualies. They have shorter range than the Splatter Shot, but they also enable more aggression. If you move the stick to either side, you'll dodge roll and go into turret mode, which fires faster and thereby applies ink faster. The Splat Dualies also swap in for the Splatter Shot throughout the rest of the moveset, making their respective moves shorter and faster. This gives you more opportunities to poke and combo with them, but don't expect them to be killing anytime soon. Side special is the Splat Brella. Tap B to fire a shot with solid damage and ink, or hold B to bring out your shield. The shield itself is basically like Pit's down special on one side. It can knock opponents away, but it won't reliably combo into anything. Hold B long enough though, and the shield will disconnect and travel ahead of you, even off the side of the stage, leaving ink on the ground. Use this in combination with your other tools to create serious pressure for your opponent. Down special is the Suction Bomb. It sticks to any surface or platform, taking longer than the Splat Bomb to explode, but with a larger explosion. It will not stick to players, nor will it explode on contact, but the trade-off is the reliable stage control and combo potential you're offered, especially in combination with your other tools. Lastly, the final smash is the Tenta Missiles. Similar to Snake's final smash, Inkling shoots homing missiles that chase opponents toward the outside of the stage. However, they don't have the same knockback, as you'll have the freedom of movement to capitalize off the added pressure. The Agent Kit costumes will include the 2 box art Inklings from Splatoon 2, Agent 4, Agent 8, 1 gloop suit for each species, and the rival Octolings, 1 regular and 1 sanitized. Keep in mind that we're not going over every single costume idea that these characters can have. It would be better for Inkling and Octoling to be split off into Echo Fighters and given their own sets of 8 costumes. But, assuming they're alternate costumes of each other, this is about as good as it can get, in my opinion. The nice thing is, Splatoon 3 has a lot more potential for regular Octolings. The third kit is the Chaos Kit, named after the Splatoon 2 Final Fest winner that decided the direction of the third game. This kit leads toward a rushdown playstyle, using quicker, shorter ranged weapons to pressure opponents into making mistakes. Up Smash is the Clash Blaster, a fast multi-hit up smash that undeniably works out of shield. It kills later than the regular blaster though, not because of a lack of power, but because the explosion is lower, i.e. farther from the top blast zone. Don't worry though, because your forward smash more than makes up for it. Forward smash is the Splatana Stamper. Uncharged, it will fire a weak projectile that applies a little bit of ink, but fully charged, it will fire a taller, stronger projectile that applies plenty of ink. That's not even the best part. Hitting with the blade at full charge will kill almost as powerfully as Roy's forward smash, and the dash swing is also available if you keep holding forward when you release A. This makes for a powerful finisher if you tech chase with it, covering multiple get-up options and strongly rewarding you for a hard read. Down is the Tri-Slosher, and it's just as annoying as the original. Where the forward smash was like Roy's, this down smash is closer to Meta Knight's. Though its horizontal range is lacking compared to the default Slosher, its speed and safety make it a force to be reckoned with up close. Neutral special is the Tri-Stringer. Uncharged, this attack doesn't do much more than paint the ground, but starting at half charge, it sends out bottle rockets which are far more useful. These bottle rockets can knock your opponent away normally, but they can also stick to any platform or surface, exploding shortly after. Just don't expect them to kill. They do impressive damage and apply no small amount of ink, but their true strength lies in keeping the opponent busy while you close the gap. That said, they also get beaten out by most projectiles, so don't expect to counter zone with them. As with the Splat Dualies, the Tri-Stringer will replace the Splatter Shot across the moveset. It may seem counterintuitive, but it gives up a little bit of speed for a little more power and range. Forward tilt and back air are real kill options now. Down air has a wider and stronger spike hitbox, and the rapid jab is swapped out for a gentleman that can also kill in a pinch. Inkling's aerials are already pretty safe on shield, so two of them being slower in exchange for kill power will help you play Rushdown far more than it hurts. Side special is the Heavy Splatling. This move is practically useless uncharged, but at full charge it has longer range and a stronger windbox than Splatter Shot. Use this to apply ink quickly without letting your opponent get closer. Down special is Burst Bomb. It explodes on contact with anything. It applies the same amount of ink as the other bombs, but without nearly the same damage or knockback. This is mostly meant to be another option for applying ink from a distance. Lastly, Final Smash is the Reef Slider. Dash forward and cause an explosion bigger than a bomber, killing as early as 40%. The dash forward has a hitbox that knocks the opponent into the explosion, and the explosion itself can be started early by pressing the special button. Keep your opponents guessing with this powerful finisher. The Chaos Kit costumes include the box art Inkling and Octoling, Agent 3, a slop suit for each species, a side order costume, and the regular rival Octoling. The hardest part about designing these kits is trying to imagine them in action. I've done my best to design and balance them according to what I think is fair, but I'll never truly know how balanced these kits are unless someone mods them into Smash Ultimate. Still, if the only thing keeping these designs from working is a few number tweaks, I'd say this video was a success. In trying to represent all of Splatoon, the Smash devs gave Inkling a moveset that embodies both the shooting and swimming in Splatoon's combat. There are limits to any approach when representing a Smash character, and Inkling is no exception, but I think this is the best one they could have taken, which is why I only swapped out the moves that already used weapons. Even with only 3 games though, I think I managed to draw out some unique ideas. That said, the older characters in Smash have much more history to pull from and much more potential for interesting variations. If you're interested in seeing kits for the other characters in Smash, check out the videos by Mew2Million that inspired this one. It's the exact same concept, but by someone with more inspired ideas than I have for characters other than Inkling. Thanks for watching! Please like the video if you liked it, comment your thoughts and constructive criticism below, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. I'm Tiquono, and I love you. Stay fresh!